Hello everyone, it's Mhairi. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I am going to be sharing my November TBR. And if you don't know what TBR is, it stands for to be read. So basically, I'm going to be sharing a bunch of books that I'm planning and hoping to read in the month of November. And I know I'm a tiny bit late to this. Most people, I've realised, do this before the month actually starts, but I wanted to do it anyway, so we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to show you what I plan to read for the month of November 2020. Okay, so I have my little stack of books here, and it is quite a little stack compared to some people's. I've been watching a few of these videos and some people have got TBRs for the month of November that are like... So in comparison, my pile looks a bit tiny, but I'm not the fastest of readers. I once was, I just am these days. And also, like 95% of my time at the moment is put into my daughter, so my only true reading time is when she's napping or when she's in bed at night. And I just want it to be as realistic as possible. I want to read as many books as I possibly can. I have a massive box, a TBR box. Some people have a crate or a cart, what I mean. But I have a big box full of books that I bought that I haven't read and that I want to read. And another thing that a lot of booktubers, is that a name, do is they pick at random what they're going to be reading for that month. I just went into my TBR box and picked out stuff that I fancied reading for this month. So maybe that makes that video a little less interesting, maybe it makes it more interesting, I don't know, but I'm going to share them with you anyway. So I have some classic books, I have some what are technically children's books, and I also have some poetry books, and then I have one book that I'm going to read at the end of the month, which I am really looking forward to reading. I've been wanting it for a while, so that's like my main one that I'm going to build up to, if you like. The first two books are actually on my Kindle, so I don't have hard copies to show you, so I will just put pictures here. But I started reading the All Souls trilogy, which is, if you don't know, the book series that A Discovery of Witches is based on. And I've read the first two, A Discovery of Witches and Shadow of the Night. That might not be the title. And I've got the next two. It turns out that there's actually two more. I thought there was only three, but hey, more content, more stuff to read. So those are my Kindle and I'm planning on finishing that series. But before I finish that series, I'm actually taking a break from it and reading this. So you can see that. So this is Sense and Sensibility, and it's the first of two Jane Austen books that I will be reading this month. I've actually already started this and I am really liking it so far. It takes a little bit of time to get used to the language that's used in Jane Austen's time, but once you do, you get really quite drawn into the world that she creates. And yeah, this one is Sense and Sensibility, I think I already said that. And it's about the Dashwood sisters, and they move to the countryside and both find the possibility of love in their new life. So really looking forward to reading the rest of that. I've never watched the film or the series or anything like that. I've never read this, and I've had it on my list for years. So when I decided to get my TBR pile together, that was right up there on the list. Along with the classic Jane Austen Pride and Prejudice. This I have seen the film before. I've seen the Keira Knightley film. I haven't seen the... I think there's another film, and I think there's this series with Colin Firth as well. I haven't seen those, but I've seen the Keira Knightley version. And I loved it. It was such a good film. And I'm one of these people that profoundly believes that the book is better than the movie. And yet, I have never finished this book. I say finished, I have started it. I started Pride and Prejudice years ago, and then I left my copy on a bus. So, bought another copy, and this month it's getting finished. Next up we have a rather battered copy, looks alright in the front, of Capture in the Rye. I genuinely have no idea what this is about. There's nothing on the back. If there was anything on the back, it's now like totally thing. This is like a second-hand copy from a charity shop, so... But I've heard a lot about it, and it's considered Penguin modern classics. So I reckon it's good. It's decently small, so are the other two. They're not like hugely thick books. I tried to pick slightly smaller books for this month and then a bigger book to end with, just because I felt like that was what I could practically manage. Okay, next up we have a children's classic, and that is Peter Pan. I read this when I was like, my brain doesn't even go back that far, when I was very, very young. And I can't remember any of it, like not one bit of it. So really want to reread that this month and remind myself of it all. And I also want to reread Pippi Longstocking, because it was one of my favourite childhood books, and I loved the movie as well. I was just really obsessed with Pippi Longstocking. I thought that she looked identical to my big sister, who has like wild red hair, lots of freckles, the lot. And if you don't know about Pippi Longstocking, it's basically the only girl in the world who can do exactly what she likes. She's 9 years old and she's very, very strong. She lives in a cottage all by herself, which when I was younger sounded like a dream come true. And she only has a horse and a monkey for company. And it's basically about her adventures and stuff. And oh my god, if you have not read Pippi Longstocking, I highly recommend that you read it, because I mean there's so much of it that I've forgotten in the book, but the story in general is just like, it's just so much fun. And that takes us to poetry books, and I have 3 poetry books. I actually get through poetry books quite fast, so 3 doesn't really seem that much to me. So I have Child of the Moon. Here it is. Isn't that a gorgeous cover? Just so simple and nice. Yeah, so this is a debut collection, and it offers up a moving glimpse into the true nature of healing, an imperfect, non-linear journey. And I don't know, it just sounded really, really good to me when I picked it up. I love poetry. I write poetry myself, by the way. I will put my Instagram with my poetry on it in the description box if you want to check that out. Don't feel obliged to, but if you do... Oh, we're going slightly out of focus for some reason. Hello? I'm still here. My camera keeps going out of focus. I really, really apologise. But yeah, looking forward to reading that. And then I'm also going to be reading Deaf Republic, which I believe is about a time of political unrest and soldiers kill a deaf boy and then that's the last thing that people hear. And somebody recommended this to me. I think it was on Instagram. They DM'd me after I said something about poetry and said that I should read this. So if that was you, I'm reading it. And then the last poetry book we have is Soft Thorns. And this is supposedly kind of a journey of love and then heartbreak and sexual assault and sexism, and it's all written on the back. It's basically quite a journey, but it just looked really interesting to me, and it's published by a company that I love the poetry books from, so I picked this up and thought I'd read that this month. And that takes us to the last book, which is the big climax that I'm building up to. I really am looking forward to reading this, and that is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And I have been told that this is like a dark academia must read. Sorry, am I still focused? Yeah. My camera keeps doing something weird with the focus and I don't know what it is doing exactly. But yeah, pretty much every kind of reading account that I've followed recently has recommended this book, and it just sounded so good. And it's basically a bunch of misfits that are in a New England college, and then they apparently discover a way of thinking and living that is a world away from the humdrum existence of their contemporaries, but then they go beyond the boundaries of normal morality and their lives are profoundly changed. So a bit vague, I guess, on the back of what exactly happens, but I'm really looking forward to digging into it because I don't think I've heard one negative review about this book, and it just sounds right up my street. I really love the whole kind of what they're calling dark academia now, which, if you don't know, is like an aesthetic where it focuses on learning and bettering yourself, etc. And quite a lot of dark academic books and stuff like that take place in like learning places like schools and universities, libraries, etc. And that's just really right up my street. So very excited to read that. I have no idea what my camera is doing, but it just keeps going out of focus, so I apologise if I'm moving around a lot in this video. But yeah, in total I've counted, I have 11 books to read this month. So my small pile of books is suddenly not seeming so small, but I'm hopeful that I can do it. I can read them if I maybe stop talking right now and go and get started. Anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you are an avid reader like me, then please let me know in the comment section what you're planning to read for this month, if you have any plans, or you could let me know what your favourite books are. Recommend your favourite books below. I would love that. I can add them to my list, my never-ending list. And yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.